Hi, my name is Anna Kate Graham, and I am super excited to talk about my experiences with traveling abroad and studying abroad. Overall, it was honestly such a great experience, and anyone in my family and my close friend group, they don't hear me not talk about Greece. I'm constantly talking about it and always talking about how amazing the experience was and how formative it was for me. And it was my first time going out of the country, so it was a really, really good experience. First experience doing that. I think sometimes it can kind of be scary going abroad in another country on your own or even with your family. But being with the school and having our travel advisor, Katerina, it made me feel super at ease, and I was able to kind of take everything in, I feel like, even more than I would have if I was kind of doing a solo trip. So, jumping straight into it, some of the expectations of the work ethic compared to the US, I would say that honestly, I don't know if I had a specific expectation of the work ethic. However, I have heard that Europeans are a lot more lax than Americans in general. You know, I feel like Americans are constantly go, 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 very individualistic versus a collectivistic culture that a lot of Europe has. And, you know, you hear that Europeans, they walk into the office at about 11, then they take their 2-hour lunch at 12, come back into the office at 1 or at 2, and then they're out of there by 2:30. So, I didn't really experience that side of it, honestly. I saw the side of really hard work ethic in all of the businesses that we went to, specifically the in Apivita, the man who spoke to us during the presentation, his work ethic was so hard, and he grinded, and he really did make himself into this huge businessman that has really, he's just so fulfilled in his work, and he loves his work, and I think that's super encouraging and nice to know that that work ethic also belongs over in Europe, because you kind of don't hear about that as often. One thing I will say about the expectations that I had going into the country just as an American tourist, I was kind of scared because you also hear the stereotype that Europeans really love their space. They're very passionate about the fact that they are from where they're from, whether it's Greece, Italy. I hear a lot of it in France that they don't love tourists, especially Americans. We tend to be loud, obnoxious, think we're better than everyone else. So going in, I was very nervous to kind of get that backlash from the locals, but I did not experience not one bit of attitude or backlash or snide comments or anything like that from any of the locals. No one from any restaurants or shops. Everybody was so kind, and it really warmed my heart because I was very nervous that we were not going to be accepted. I will say the only thing that was a little bit weird, and I don't know if it was the fact that we were American or that they could just tell that we were tourists, I'm not quite sure, but everyone kept looking at our feet. And maybe that's something that the locals do in order to recognize if you're a tourist or not. And hopefully I didn't look like a tourist. That was the one thing I did not want. So hopefully I was able to sneak by and they approved of my footwear. Expectations of communicating through foreign language. Again, I was kind of nervous. I was doing Duolingo. I was getting ready. I know a couple, when I say a couple, I mean like actually probably 2 Greek words, and I was very nervous. There was going to be a huge language barrier and a gap of being able to communicate at restaurants and shops and things, but I was actually very excited to learn that literally everybody in Greece speaks English, and I think that is something that the US should adopt, that we should implement harsher curriculum in learning another language and having a second language. I learned from a couple of the locals that they are actually required to take English as a school in as a class in grade school. So from the time of like kindergarten, they're learning English as well as obviously their native language, their first language. And then by the time they get into high school, they do another language. So by the time they graduate, they are fluent in, we'll take Greece for example, they're fluent in Greek and English and working on their third language. And I think that is so beneficial to pour your students into other countries and they can work in other countries and not even working but also traveling. I just think that's so beneficial in so many different ways. So I think the US should adopt that. But yeah, I was very nervous that I wasn't going to be able to communicate very well, but it ended up being very easy. And then lastly, expectations of food. I was actually, I hate to say this, but the food wasn't my absolute favorite. Some things that I had were really good, but I wouldn't say that I was obsessed with the food and want to go back to the country for the food. It's more that I want to go back to the country for the culture and the experience that I had, rather than the food. And my next traveling adventures, hopefully I can make it to Scotland and Ireland, right? That's the dream. We'll see what happens with that, but otherwise I just want to, I've caught the travel bug, so I'd be happy to go anywhere and everywhere, whether that's domestically or abroad. But yeah, overall, again, this was just the best experience ever, and a lot of my expectations got wiped, and I'm so happy that my expectations were wrong and that I was proven wrong about a lot of things. So yeah, overall, 10 out of 10, great experience.